Bro, we're officially recording, man. So it's like be so totally careful of everything you ever say from this moment on. So what's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Into the Mind. I'm your host, Marlon Johnson, former parkour athlete, now entrepreneur, and I am crazy excited for this episode. You all know that this show is about bringing on successful entrepreneurs, high achievers, individuals that have started from not always nothing, but just have started somewhere and made a decision in their life on where they wanted to go and let nothing be an excuse. So the guest I bring on always have some knowledge, some wisdom, some advice, some experience to share. And like, oh my gosh, today's guest is someone that the very first time he and I ever got on a phone call, that phone call lasted maybe, I think like 2 hours. I'm pacing around the kitchen. I'm just crazy excited. Like, holy crap, this guy is just amazing. I can feel his energy from across the globe. Like, it's just unreal what he's been able to do, how he's been able to step into the real estate space, knowing next to nothing, how he's been able to scale himself as a business owner and as a man, as a human, what he's been able to do as far as helping people, closing deals, making friends, creating relationships, going about, making connections. Like, I'm excited about this episode. So what we're going to be doing today is we're going to be interviewing him. I'm going to be diving into his origin story, right? We're going to learn how, with knowing nothing about real estate, was able to close six transactions in a single day, do over, I believe it was something like 60 plus deals in the course of less than a year. And he's just on a rampage. Like, he's straight up on a rampage. So I'm going to introduce my friend, my buddy, my amigo, someone that I'm looking forward to growing with and doing business with, Sam freaking Singh. Yo, Sam, what is up, bro?
Um, I'm amazing. I'm freaking amazing. You know what? To quote you, I'm sensational.
Bro,
Um, there we go. We have to start it the right way. It's an honor to be here with you because you are not only a friend and a peer and someone that I look up to. You've been a mentor, a big brother to me. But I mean, that's actually probably the best word to describe it. You are also a brother to me. So this means a lot, man. I feel like this is a long time coming, and I was actually very hesitant. I knew that I always wanted to get on into the mind, and I was like, no, I got to go crush some deals first. I got to go, make $1 million first. I got to go buy a Lambo. I got to I got to earn my spot here. But I think that me being here finally, it came organically, and honestly, this is an absolute honor. This is one of the ones I'm really, really freaking excited about. I'm gonna tell you right now, I'm probably never gonna forget this first time, and I hope that it's not the last time. But Marlon, brother, thank you so much for inviting me on. Right, this is I know how selective you are with the people that you bring on. I've seen some of your guests, and I through the grapevine, I think I have a few names that I know that you're going to be bringing on soon, and I'm just like, wow. So it's a tremendous honor to be here, because that is it's high praise and it's good company. So, dude, I'm super stoked. I'm super freaking stoked. And for the record, guys, I had to say this just so there's no. I've done a lot of deals, but no, I didn't crush 60. I'm not even in my first year yet. I just passed month 7 into sub 2 into real estate. I think I joined in October, and then I just closed deal number 34. So, but yeah, the 6 in one day, like we can get into that a little bit later. The 6 in one day, I mean, I don't know, fool's luck, good day, good time, things lined up. Um, but I think this podcast is not necessarily about those little marketing points. It's not about the little intricacies or the systems of the business. This is about mindset. And I've got to tell you this, man, no one really talks about it in a truly meaningful, impactful way. And as another leader, a much more prominent leader in our community, right? Not just in sub 2. You're repping the sub 2 hat right now, not even just in sub 2, but because you're such a phenomenal leader in the Phoenix real estate zone. I know so many people gravitate towards you because you're magnetic and you teach people and you pluck other leaders. You see something in people and you know that they can become leaders and you help them become leaders. And I know you get this a lot. You and I talked about this. A lot of people approach us. I know you've been dealing with this for a very long time. and people, they want to know about with your success. Is it, what marketing is it? Is it cold calling? How many VAs? Is it texting? And all of that stuff, guys, is truly just freaking math. Like it's a formula. It's a math problem, and you can get those answers anywhere. The reality of like, why is Marlon Johnson known as freaking mindset Marlon, is because he prioritizes the most important thing, and he focuses on the most important real estate, and that's real estate up here. So dude, 100% we can get into all that stuff. Any questions you got, I'd love to answer. If people have questions and they want to kind of know how I did things, happy to do it. But this is one of those ones where I had the absolute freaking honor of someone who I know you care tremendously about, I care tremendously about, and that is Laura Morby, who was on my podcast, The Origin Show, yesterday. She was on with us for 2 hours, and she actually cried on this podcast. And I feel horrible for that. Like, I'm never going to live that down. I can't believe that like that happened. And I feel terrible about it. But a lot of that was because we were talking about mindset and relationships and human psychology and dynamics, and how it all, because it can get really messy really fast, and how all those, you know, intricate things come together into the world of entrepreneurship. So all of that to say, she did that, and she showed me, this is something that I've been very hesitant to do so far. I've got a podcast called The Origin Story, and to be truthful, a lot of people don't actually know my origin story, and this is hilarious. So, and I actually made the conscious decision yesterday, after seeing Laura be vulnerable with her mindset, being open and not being afraid to showcase the hardships that she's gone through. And I've decided that I'm going to not just emulate it, but I'm going to match it. And here's why. After that one ended, I was reeling, right? I was just taken aback. And I didn't know that we were going to go there. I didn't know we were going to go that deep. And for hours and hours and hours, I had tons of people reaching out to me. I had women DMing me saying that they were bawling their eyes out and like thanking me for having her come on, because she spoke about her vulnerabilities that they relate to. And I can almost guarantee that the connection through the authenticity and the vulnerability about her mindset that she had with the audience, there's more meaningful, long-standing impact there for the viewers. So I've openly decided that, you know, this is one of those things where I've like kind of shied away from it. I didn't know that I wanted to talk about my background, what I've been through. And, you know, let's just talk about the good stuff. Let's just talk about all the deals and the money and the contracts and, you know, all that great stuff. And let's not talk about the hardships behind it. But, you know, you're someone who I think I've learned a lot of this from you, actually. There is a power and a strength to that vulnerability. So dude, however deep you want to go, we'll go. And I just hope that people find some real value out of it.
Sam, I appreciate you. Before we even get started, I just need to let you know how much I appreciate you, because that is the premise of this show. It is not to brag about the highlight reel, although it's important to acknowledge the accomplishments. Where I like to take this show is really, you know, take me back, right? Take me to where it started. Take me to being lost and confused and not sure which way to go, because that's where the listeners are. That's where people are today. And we need to show them that there's a bridge, right? And we need to connect. So, Sam, we're going to be going deep, bro. And right now, I just got to let you know, like, it's me and you talking. Right? It's just me and you hanging out right now, you know. And I want to know, take me back to where you feel it started for yourself. Like, at what point? Because I'm going to tell you something. You're special. You're very special. And like, when I say special, I mean like there's an obvious special that when people meet someone, they can just tell it. Wow. Like, it's a universal kind of thing. Not like, hey, my mom and my friends think I'm special, right? And this small group of people, like, no, strangers can feel it off of you. So I want to know, at what point did you start to recognize in your life or feel in your life that something was a little bit different, something was a little bit off, and I would say you woke up as a person?
Right. This is, oh wow, there's so much there. There's so much there. And what I would like to do is so we're not jumping back and forth chronologically. If you're okay with it, I can just take us way back, because my story is one of those ones where you have to see not just me, but where it all started, and that's actually my mother.
Bro, let's go.
So
let's take it there.
This is one of those things where I've become more open about it, but I want to talk about this because I know there's a lot of people who are going through this. And I'm going to condense it just a little bit. I am the son of a single mother who raised 4 boys. She was an immigrant, came here at 16 in an arranged marriage that didn't last because it was a horrible relationship. And then in the ghetto in America, she had to raise 4 boys. Welfare, food stamps, Section 8, the whole nine, the whole freaking nine. Had to grow up in a neighborhood where our front door had to have 4 locks on it. It was that type of place. And what it meant was this. It meant that I didn't really understand, truthfully, what abundance was. Like this is something that I'm like constantly trying to get a better figure on. And it's because when you're trying to make ends meet and you witness your parent, especially a single parent, struggling every single day to make ends meet, having to, and I know a lot of people watching, I've had people reach out to me when I've opened up a little bit about this, and they were raised by single parents and they know they like me when I was a kid. You see what your single parent goes through. 1, you're probably not seeing them very often. 2, it's because they're working 14, 15, 16 hours a week. And usually if they're an immigrant who came here at 16 and has no viable skill sets or education to back them, they're probably taking on some menial labor-based jobs, and there's usually high risk factors for it. And being in the ghetto, she had to work in ghetto areas. This was an inevitability. She had to work night shifts, and during the day she came home and slept for 4 or 5 hours, then went back out for another 16-hour shift. This is what I had to witness as a growing up. Now what this actually did is, I'm going to fast forward a little bit, but I just want people to know that that seeing that growing up, seeing that paycheck to paycheck on Section 8, on government assistance, that is boiled into my freaking brain. Anyone who asks me, and I make no qualms about this, I will be a billionaire. Without a shadow of a doubt, it's going to happen. And people ask me why. They think it's because of selfish reasons, because I want 17 Lambos and things like that. But the reality is it's fundamentally built on that core of that observation of what struggle looks like. Because I didn't understand abundance then, but I'm getting a better feel for it now. And I want to fast forward a little bit to when I was about 11 years old. My mother, she got pregnant, and I ended up having 2 little brothers. Their names are Ronnie and Johnny. They're amazing. They're my reason for doing everything that I do. At 11, they were born. I was 11. They were in the picture, and their father decided he didn't want to fulfill his obligations, and he dipped. Fine, all good. What does that mean? Sam at 11 has to become a man, right? Mom's working 15, 16 hours a week or a day. And it means that Sam has to, I actually had to miss school because we couldn't afford a babysitter because we had little babies. And it meant that I had to miss school. I had to put my education on the line. I had to, take a lot of sacrifices there to step in and be not just a big brother, but a father figure. And what we saw then, and as I was growing up, I'm just seeing the struggle. And all of this stuff was actually rooted in the lack of one thing. And that one thing is a tool called money, right? The tool called money could have got us a babysitter, right? It could have made sure that she didn't have to work very low paying, labor-based jobs, in the ghetto of downtown, things like that. And so I'm going through life and I'm being a father figure. So I'm having to rapidly mature past my age, past my peers. And it's because I had responsibility. And I think you're a guy who understands the power of responsibility and what it can do for you as a human being in your evolution. Well, I got to college, and it was obviously, having the Asian background that I do, going to college is non-negotiable. It is a default answer. So I went to college and I got into an industry. I'm not going to talk too much about it, but it was an industry that I excelled at. It was phenomenal, and I was damn good at it. But it came at a cost, and that cost, I actually got to live a very meaningful, fulfilled, purpose-oriented life. But it did one thing. I actually worked for the federal government, and what that meant is I got paid pennies. So I got to live a very emotionally fulfilling life, but I was working 60, 70, hour weeks and get nothing in return. So what does that do? I'm starting to realize, oh crap, where did I see this? I've seen this again, this amount of work for no pay, and I don't get to be home with the people that I love. And that's when I really started understanding that what I actually need is something that gives me the tool to provide an abundant lifestyle for the people that I love. And it allows me the freedom that I want to spend that time with the people that I love. So going through college, go to grad school, because I'm a smart dude, decently. And after grad school, I decided like, hey, entrepreneurship's the route. I graduated grad school last year in spring, through that summer, I went through YouTube University, got a PhD, it was great. And I came across this thing called a wholesale hotline. And wholesale hotline, found this, this guy, this really cool talking, smooth dude. And then his name was Pace Morby. And I was like, God, this guy is a badass. Like he's a freaking genius, teaching me everything that I need to know. And then I find out that this guy, Pace Morby, has a program called Sub 2. I'm like, okay, this is where you want to go. And I found this out. I'm not going to say anything bad about any other mentorships, but there's a lot of mentorships that at the time were very, very well known. And then, but like Sub 2 was in like hushed whispers. Like that's where the elite were, right? Like when you get into real estate, you go to this guy's mentorship, but when you go through 4 or 5 other mentorships and don't get the results you want, you go there when you're ready for it. And I'm like, screw that shit. I'm going to cut the line and I'm going to go to that mentorship right now. I forced myself in. I got on the phone with the recruiter and I'm like, hey bro, like I don't even know what it is, but I believe in this. You're going to I don't care if you tell me I can't join. I'm going to call again at a different time, get someone else on the line, and I'm going to join. And at that time I had 0 deals, 0 real estate knowledge, like period. This was October. I basically knew nothing, fresh, clean slate. And that's when I decided that I had to rewire my brain to figure out how to make it as a self-initiating entrepreneur, which is not freaking easy. There's a lot of people who I think sometimes are wired for this game, and there's people that aren't. And for me, I had to rewire my factory settings to be able to understand how to do this game right. And a lot of that was the fact that I went to college, and college taught me to operate a certain way. And I basically had to quickly learn based on seeing people succeed, you being one of them. They didn't do all that stuff. They operated the exact opposite way than I thought I should. So fast forward, we are 34 deals in, and that's wholesaling, going big time on fix and flips, Airbnbs, got some amazing partnerships. And I want to say this, dude. This is actually really, really important. When I was at the end of last year, I was mapping out my goals for this year. One of my goals was to start my own podcast. And you inspired that. It was actually 100% because of you. I had no freaking desire to before that. And I just saw what you were doing and I was following it. And honestly, I was enamored by what you were doing. And I could see the intentionality behind it, how it was affecting your circle, and how I saw you, and all I saw was a rocket ship going up. And I was like, wow, that is freaking amazing. I want to emulate that. And truth be told, starting a podcast is scary as shit. It can be. It really, really freaking can be. But you actually gave me the confidence to do that. And the first time you mentioned this, the first time that you and I talked, which was not too long ago, I think it was sometime this year. We had a 2-hour talk where I think all we did was just inspire one another. And I actually, after I got off that call, I was like, this is the guy who inspired me to do a podcast. If I can start it and have more meaningful conversations like the one that I just did with you, I don't care if I get 1 viewer or 1 million, this feeling is going to be worth it. So, and now I've got so much amazing stuff happening, but I want to say this publicly, Marlon, that would not have happened if you didn't inspire me to do it in the first place. So brother, truly thank you.
Sam, first off, I thank you, brother. I accept that thanks. And I freaking love you, man. I'm just going to throw that out there in the middle of this episode because you are a fantastic, amazing human. And wow, dude, I did not know your origin story that deeply, right? Like when we first spoke, I learned a lot about you. However, to hear that, the life that you came from with your mother raising all of you on her own, right? You seeing that struggle, you seeing that life up close, personal, you living that and having to actually sacrifice your own education as a child, right? Like as a child, that's a sacrifice no child should be asked to make. And you did it, right? And you would do it again, which is amazing because you had the self-awareness. You had enough self-awareness that as an adult, when you realized, oh shoot, I'm reliving the cycle. I need to break this. The cycle stops with me. That you actually broke out of the mold. And what you said, I never heard this, a self-initiating entrepreneur, which I love because we're gonna actually need to talk about that. We need to talk about that a lot because that's a mindset. That is a mindset that allows one to grow because the argument comes up often, which is an entrepreneur born or is an entrepreneur made? And there are people that are on both sides of the camp. And very successful entrepreneurs will tell you that entrepreneurs are made. And yet you identify as someone who was not an entrepreneur from birth, right? You identify as someone that, hey, society, right, and nature said I would be one way. I was actually meant to be a part of that cycle. And you broke out and decided to make your own lane. So talk to me about that. Like, you got to help me walk through that. Was that just you woke up one Sunday morning and said, you know what, time to be an entrepreneur, and life just clicked into place? Or was there resistance both internally and externally that you were met with?
Right. I freaking love this, dude. We're gonna go on for 6 hours today, folks.
Oh, bro, it's okay. I already cleared it off the calendar, bro.
There we go. There we go. I'm gonna text my assistant and tell her to cancel on everybody. Grant Cardone, peace out, man. So this is great. Here's the thing, and I don't know, as far as that debate goes, the smartest thing for me to say is that I have no freaking clue. I really don't. But what I will say is this: I think that there's elements. I was actually telling someone that I truly love this the other day, yesterday, and this is something that you and I have actually talked about a little bit, and that's our love for being showmen. We love being on stages. We love being in a position where we can inspire people and feel connectivity with them. But here's the thing: that's a natural thing for you and me. We have that innate quality, and we know it. I want to challenge that. And I think there's people out in this world who have that innate quality as well, but they've never been put into a position in their lives to allow that to breathe and come to the surface. I fell in love with public speaking in college. I absolutely fell in love with it. I was on a stage in a suit with a microphone in front of 1,000 people. I freaking loved it. It's one of my greatest loves in life. If I had never done that, I would never have found that purpose, right? So I think there's a lot of time when we talk about, is someone born an entrepreneur or they made an entrepreneur, right? I think that maybe they have it in. Maybe we all do, but maybe we're just looking for that one right moment to let that come to the surface and breathe. And then maybe you'll realize that you freaking love it. There's a person who I'm talking to, and I believe that they have this in them. They're a showman and they just don't know it yet. I know they're terrified of being on stage, but I know they've never actually been on stage. And who was also terrified of being on stage for the first time they were there was me. I was terrified, petrified. I was trying to come up with every reason to not do it. I went up, did it, lived in the uncomfortableness of doing it. And you're going to hear me talk about this later throughout it. And if you guys follow me on social media, you've seen me say this a lot of times. I learned how to thrive in the fire. And what that basically means is that whatever it is that's uncomfortable, that scares the holy hell out of you, find a way to thrive in it, feel comfortable in it, right? I did that in public speaking. And when it was done, I realized that I found a new love. So as far as entrepreneurs, are they born or are they made? I have no freaking clue. But I think for me, maybe it was there, but it was just deep down. And the things that I was doing in life, the experience that I had, just kept trying to bury it further and further and further. And one of the things that I was doing when I was working for the government was that it was we had initiative, right? Initiative is important, but it was very directed and it was very chain of command. And it was you are part of a massive apparatus and you are a cog in the machine. Now, going to entrepreneurialism, man, there is no one there to tell you what to do. There is no one there to hold your hand. There is no one there to give you a training manual on how to do this, truthfully, right? And if in my job, if I screw up and I don't do what I'm supposed to do, I get reprimanded, I get told how I'm supposed to do it, and it gets done the next day. In entrepreneurship, if you don't show up and actually put in the work, the only person that suffers for it is you. So how did that turn on? I love that question, man. And this goes to fears, and I really hope we can deep dive on fears, because this is something that I firmly believe in. I don't know if it's fate. I don't know if it's destiny. I don't know if it's God or the universe. I have no freaking clue. But what I do know is this: I feel that I have a destiny in front of me, and I know it's big. And I know that there is a man that I'm supposed to become. And I firmly believe that that man has the capacity to affect great change in this world and alter the course of so many people's lives. I actually love that man to death. Now, here's the thing. That man is a future version of me, and he's just not here yet. It is my mission in life to make sure the world gets to meet him. And I can only do that by becoming him. Now, how does this translate to me becoming an entrepreneur and the rewiring of the brain? I eventually had to sit down and ask myself this question. That's the man that I want to become. How do I do it? And I realized I can't do it being a part of a chain of command working for the government. I can't do it getting a PhD and becoming a doctor. I can't do it doing all this stuff. The reality is I need more tools. I need resources. A lot of people ask me why I want to become a billionaire. The reality is it's a lot of resources that will allow me to create meaningful change on a massive scale. That's the real reason for why I want to do this. And I actually had to confront a fear. A lot of people, when they're starting out, they have so many fears of failures. I'm afraid of spending $1,000 for marketing, I'm afraid to hire a VA because what if they suck and they don't show up to work? Right? They're terrified of all these little things. They're afraid of failing in the short term. And I quickly realized that I actually only have one fear in life. And this is something you and I talked about on our first call. And everyone listening, like, you guys can clip this and hold it against me forever, but this is the reality of me. My single greatest fear in life is to not become who I'm always meant to be. If I fail becoming that man, if I fail in my endeavor of getting the world to meet this person, I have failed my entire meaning in life. That single fear drives me literally every single day. And then I've realized, for anyone that has fears of failures in the short term, I realized that the quickest way to become that guy, to become that man who can change the world, I actually have to run towards all those small failures. Those small failures make you grow in the biggest possible way. Marlon, you are a guy who's in extremely good shape. You're a very fit dude, and you work out, and you know that when you work out, especially when you do strength training, what are you doing? You're breaking down your muscle fibers, right? You are actually driving them. This is what we say in the world of fitness. You are training to failure when you're doing a set sometimes, right? And it's usually towards the end of the set. Well, you're doing that because you want your muscle fibers to fail, to be damaged, so they can rebuild stronger and better. We're doing the exact same thing every day. Every great failure in life is a learning lesson, and it will actually be more conducive to your growth than all of your wins combined. I firmly believe this. So all the failures that, like, I know are going to be in front of me, I'm going to spend 10 grand a month in this spend. I'm going to go join this partnership, and I'm going to risk being screwed over because that person might be shitty. Whatever the heck it is, I run towards those. Now, I don't do it recklessly and stupidly. So guys, don't think that. But the reality is I run towards those because the outcome will teach me so freaking much. Don't be afraid of the short-term failures. There's only one fear that you should have in life, and that's not becoming who you were always destined to be. If you do that, you get that clarity in who you are. And I did at that point, that pivotal point, that's when I clicked and realized I was going to be a phenomenal entrepreneur.
Sam, wow. So first off, I love that. I love every second of this right now because one, right, I like that you explained exactly why you're going after such a large goal. Because I was going to ask you that, man. Like, when you say it, when you say, look, I'm going for a billion, I am a billionaire, right? It just hasn't happened yet, right? Time hasn't caught up yet. And I'm becoming the man that I see, the man that I know I was put here to be. I'm becoming that man so that he can be introduced to the world, so that the world can meet him, right? There's such a sense of purpose. Like I can feel it where sometimes people say things like that, Sam, and I got to be honest with you, I don't believe them. I don't like, I'll be polite. I'm not going to crush them. However, when you say it, I'm like, wow, I believe it. Like I can see it. And I feel honored to have you here right now, that people are going to be able to come back and say, like, wow, he called the shot. Like that wasn't luck, that he called the shot. And I like this, right? Essentially this relationship that you have with fear and failure, right? That, essentially for you, failure is knowledge, right? Failure is a way of actually gaining more experience and actually getting you to the goal faster. Because a lot of people, they shy away from that. They don't want to fail, right? They believe that success is a series of wins, a series of like, hey, this is 100%, 100%. But you're actually realizing, and you've tapped into this universal knowledge that actually the way to the finish line is actually by stumbling and falling and getting bruised along the way. That's actually when you're messing up, you're actually moving there in the proper way, in the proper form and order that you should be going. Because, like you said, those successes don't actually teach you much because it all went right. What did you learn? Right. So let's dive in a little bit on this as well, because something that you said as well is like you're not afraid to try the marketing, try the partnerships, try the deals. Like, how have you been putting yourself into different opportunities and situations that scare you? Like, what does that look like, right? Like when Sam's like thinking like, all right, like I need to go learn, I need to go accelerate this growth. Like, what does that look like?
So I love this. I want to answer that, but before I say that, I actually want to go back to one thing that you talked about, and that's with the failures. And I know that you're an athlete. I know there's probably a lot of athletes watching this. And the value in losing, the value in failing
Well,
versus the value that you get in winning. I've been a competitive athlete for most of my life, and this was in tennis. You know this, and I remember, and I think a lot of the athletes here who did competitive sports can also relate to this. And that's that when everything is going your way and you crush the other team, your opponent, whatever it is, and you're just sailing, I can almost guarantee that you actually learn nothing.
mm-hmm.
But when you play someone who is leaps and bounds ahead of you and you try everything you can, you try to problem solve in a million different ways and you still get your butt handed to you, you'll probably look back at it and be like, that was the best match of my life. Even though I lost, even though I got destroyed. And I remember in the junior days when I was playing against some guys who were phenomenal players, just, really talented, real hard workers. They deserved all the successes they had. And I remember getting into those matches, getting my butt absolutely handed to me. And the scoreline was horrible, like horrible, disgusting, embarrassing, right? And then I would end the match and go to my coach and they'd all console me. And I'd be like, honestly, that was the best match I've ever played in my life. And I actually learned so much more about myself. And so for the athletes, I hope there's some value in that. That's how I've always viewed it. But yeah, man, I'm so sorry. Please remind me of your question.
But actually hold it there for a second, because actually that is something, man, I'm happy that you brought it back there. I really am. Hopefully y'all see why I love talking to Sam. Hopefully like people are getting it and they're just like, I know they're getting it. They're like, wow, this dude is freaking amazing. Like, how amazing would your life be if you can wake up and talk to this guy every single day? So as an athlete,
Wait, hold up. How amazing would it be if you wake up every single day of your life and you're in a freaking huddle with Mindset Marlin? I mean, I don't know. I think there's a little thing there that is actually a possible thing, guys. If you guys aren't following or in the the morning mindset coffee with Marlon freaking Johnson, everyone needs an anchor. So whatever it is, whatever works for them. I know for you, it's waking up early, being with your tribe, and getting your mind right. So I'm so glad you said that, because I'm going to plug your stuff, bro. So guys, if you guys aren't following it, if you guys aren't involved in it, please go do so. And when you do, tell Marlon that Sam sent you on the Into the Mind podcast. And then he's
Bro.
going to text me and then tell me he loves me. So it's good.
Bro, I was gonna text you and tell you I love you anyway. So you're absolutely right. And check this out. Like, as an athlete, first of all, thank you for that, right? I do appreciate that. That community is absolutely amazing. As an athlete, you're absolutely right. When we go and we actually want to improve our skill set, we actually go and actively pursue people that are performing at a much higher level than us, people that would ultimately crush us and destroy us in competition, because it accelerates our growth. And this is something that you and I spoke about, because, you know, we recognize, especially yourself, we have an uncanny ability to get into these rooms and situations where maybe we don't necessarily belong yet. However, it's an opportunity to be crushed and rebuilt and reborn, right? We're able to get into these rooms where individuals, their stature, their being, their energy is so much larger than where we currently are. And it makes people uncomfortable, right? Like most of the rooms I get into, it's uncomfortable at first, but by learning to live in that uncomfortability, there is such an amazing prize on the other side. So let's actually talk about that, because it relates to athletics, it relates to entrepreneurship, it relates to personal growth. Like, how important is it for you to go and get yourself into these rooms where, I'm talking like, guys, like, if you want to find Sam, just go watch your favorite like billionaires and multimillionaires, and you'll see Sam like right there side by side with them. So Sam, how important is it for you to get into these rooms and to be among different people that are at a higher level?
So guys, this is hilarious. This is one time I'll be a total, jerk and brag about it a little bit. It's funny, man. I've realized that that's become a superpower of mine. For whatever reason, every time I go somewhere, I always end up hanging out with a billionaire and getting in their circle, and it's an amazing thing. You're someone who has that superpower too. And this is why I hold you so freaking close, right? Because you have that innate skill set, that innate quality. I don't know what it is. I don't know how you have it. I don't know how I have it. I just know that we have it, and there is a responsibility that comes with it. So as far as how important is it to me? I think it's actually the most important thing that you can do. I think that there truly, truly, truly is power in proximity. And so proximity is power. This is one of the greatest things I've ever heard in my life. This is something that actually I tell myself this a lot when I'm going into these rooms. And it actually just goes back to athletics. I was actually I was a walk-on in college. And what that means for people who are not sports oriented, it meant that I was good, but I wasn't good enough to get paid to be there initially. I actually had to spend my first year and a half in college for free training with the guys on the team who are leaps and bounds and light years ahead of me, so they could whoop my butt daily. And that actually resulted in the fastest, like, astronomical growth, right? And you're so right. When you get into these rooms, I view it the exact same way. It's just like when I was training with these guys who were so much better than me, and they whoop my butt every single day. I don't know how we get into those rooms. I truly don't. I just think that whatever we do, we just put ourselves out there and things line up. But here's the thing that a lot of people need to listen to, and not just with me, but with Marlon especially, because I study Marlon. Marlon, I hope you know this, dude. I actually study you a lot. Like, things that you do, the way that you move, the way that you operate, the way that you speak to other human beings, you land with people differently than most people do. And I think it's one of the innate qualities that gets you into these rooms. Guys, try different things, find out when you get to those rooms. But here's the most important freaking thing. Have enough self-awareness to realize that you have the opportunity in that moment. Now, when you get into that room, here's the most important freaking thing you need to do. And that is to realize you have one of two options. Option A is what happens to 99.9% of people who, like we talked about, we get into these rooms and we probably don't deserve to be there at that time. We just found a way to sneak in, right? We did something, right? But when you're in that room Option A is what most people gravitate towards, and it is driven by fear. And that fear is realizing, holy crap, everyone here is, earning 6 figures a month, 7 figures a month, and I haven't done my first deal yet. How the hell did how the hell did I make it here? And what ends up happening is this: they do one of two things. They pretend to be something they're not. And guess what? Humans naturally are phenomenal at realizing when someone is full of crap. Marlon, everyone trusts you and knows you because when you speak to them as your most authentic self. It is why you are such a unique human being. If Marlon Johnson came to me posing and pretending to be something he's not, I would see it a mile away and I'd be like, nah, I'm good. We're not going to be friends. Right? So that's when they're in that room, they realize they don't belong there. They'll do that. And guess what? What does that happen? What happens then? People see that those billionaires who have extremely high emotional intelligence and emotional IQ, their EQ is super freaking high. They can see that a mile away and they're going to axe you out of that room anyways. You're out. Now, B is this. You realize that you don't belong in that room and you cower. You tighten up. You realize I shouldn't be here. I'm afraid to talk to all these people, even though I'm 5 feet away from them. And then you remove yourself from the room. Guess what? In my opinion, I don't know if it's God or the universe, but I believe once you burn that chance isn't going to come again. That is my belief in it. That's option A. People go down that route. They have the opportunity and they buckle, they fail. Option B is where I think you thrive. It's where I think I've learned to thrive. And that is realizing that you don't deserve to be in that room. Having the emotional understanding and the self-awareness of realizing that this opportunity may not come again. And the only way to remain in that room is to be your authentic self as a human being, because you can't fool the richest people in the world. You really can't. They didn't get there by being stupid. They really didn't. And then 2, you work your butt off to build genuine, authentic human relationships that have, and listen to me when I say this, guys, nothing to do with money. Mm-hmm. In sub 2, we are go-givers. We love giving value. Guys, listen to me when I say this. There is no monetary value you can give to these people who have these abundant lifestyles, right? As far as money goes, there's no financial benefit that you can give to them. If they have a $20,000 course, great. But if that person's a billionaire, they're never going to be in that course. It's a drop in the bucket to them. It doesn't matter. But guess what? Realize that they're human beings. They need fulfillment outside of money. They have families, they have hobbies, they have friends, they have ambition and drive that may be taking a back seat because they're running an empire. So with Marlon Johnson, when Marlon becomes 100 millionaire, half a billionaire, a billionaire, it's going to be very difficult for you to get into his proximity trying to sign up for a mentorship that he may or may not have, right? Or doing a deal with him. That's going to get you through the door for 2 seconds and then he's back to running his empire. But Marlon Johnson, because I know you and I know what makes you tick. If I get into that room and I'm nobody, I know that your thing that makes you tick is talking about what's in here. And I will endear myself onto you by giving you a level of fulfillment that no one else is thinking about, that no one else is talking about. So the answer to getting in that room and staying in that room, right, is be yourself, your authentic human self. Let's not be fake. There's no point to it. That facade will wear off. 2, creating authentic, genuine human relationships with these people. And then 3, work your freaking butt off to deserve to be in that room. And it's that simple. It's actually that simple.
Sam, thank you. Thank you for saying that, because I want people to understand this so deeply from like the bottom of my heart, because I know that this can change their lives, because it's changed my life. It's changing your life. It's changed the lives of those that we look up to, that we admire, who inspire us and make us want to be better people, better men, right? And so many people miss this simple point, right? So much so that I want to highlight this for emphasis. Like, I want to highlight exactly what Sam said, that when you get into the room, Be yourself. The best thing, the only thing that you can give as a unique gift on this planet is your authenticity. You cannot give enough money. You can't give enough praise. You can't give enough toys or gifts or any of that. However, giving the most authentic self, the most authentic version of you is the only thing that's a one of one in the entire universe. Give that with pride and have the self-awareness. I love it. Because Sam, we spoke about this and something I'll share with it when I'll be vulnerable for a minute. When I would get into rooms, I acted through part A and part B of what you spoke about. Like at first I would get into these rooms and I would pretend to be someone that I wasn't because I thought that's who I had to be. So much so, Sam, that to the point when I go out to events now and meetups, I actually have an itinerary for myself of what it is I'm there for. Why am I in the room? Why am I showing up? And number one at the top, I tell myself, hey, before you leave this weekend, make sure that you show up authentic. I give myself that reminder because I don't want to ever forget. So I give myself the reminder that you need to show up authentic. Be the most authentic version of you. It doesn't matter how awesome Sam is and how cool he is and just how pretty he is, all that cool stuff. Like you gotta just show up as you, man. Be you, right? It doesn't matter if Grant Cardone's talking about his billions and billions. Hey, bro, like I just did a deal, right? I just made $2,000 off my deal, right? I'm gonna show up as what makes me excited. So that's number one, because I used to pretend. And then what you said, right? Self-ejecting yourself from the room, because that's the second thing. People will go in there and feel they don't belong and they will self-eject. They will kick themselves out of being afraid, right? And the last, like you said, is going inside there and recognizing, hey, you know what? Maybe I did sneak on the elevator and maybe I'm getting a preview and I'm getting to be at this party. I'm going to be the best guest I can be in this room. I'm going to be authentic in this room. And I'm actually in the room. So I'm going to stop trying to get in the room. Stop trying to get, you're already in the room. Stop trying to get in the room and now be in the room. You're already there, right? So I love that you said that. Go and make those genuine relationships. Don't let it just be all about the money. Go and actually connect with these people as human to human, because everybody looks at them now with a handout on like, hey, give me, right? Hey, go see what you can do. See how you can pour into them, observe them long enough. And this is the key, observe them. Actually watch them. And Sam, you do this so well. You're able to observe people and you're able to see where you can add value to them, right? It can be through conversation. It can just be through energy. It's like, bro, you give some of the best hugs ever, right? Like just if anyone ever sees Sam, like just get a hug from him. Like your day will turn around so quickly.
I am the best hugger on earth. This is true. This is absolutely true.
You're phenomenal, man. And like when you're the best at something, you always have a place. You never have to worry. So I absolutely love that, man. So you recognize this as a skill set. You recognize this as something that you're meant to do and that you do well, right? And you would advise, it sounds like you would advise everybody to go out and make those connections to gain proximity, right? And place themselves amongst others.
100%. And here's the thing. When I first got started, guys, I had that scarcity mindset of like, oh man, I don't want to get into this too much, but just joining sub 2. The price of initiation, the price has gone up. When I got in, it was lower. I was terrified of doing it. Why? Because I actually didn't even have the full amount. I had to bring myself to get onto the 6-month, payment plan. And I had to fight with myself. And shout out to Dean Fago for staying on the phone with me for 7 hours across 2 days, because he's a closer. And he's just like, you're a closer, bro. When you got someone there right about there, you need to get them to the finish line. He got me, and he understood what to say to me at the right time, because he saw that I was in a place where I was leaving an industry behind me. I was leaving a chapter of my life behind me, and I was creating a new version of me, right? And he saw that, and he told me the story of burning the boats. And I don't know if you guys know what that is. I'll summarize it. But at the end of the day, there was a conquistador, a warrior, a general, something that went from Europe, and he sailed across the Atlantic somewhere to South America to conquer. That was his mission. And crossing the Atlantic, he had 1,000 ships in his fleet, and the Atlantic is dangerous. It's dangerous. There's storms. 99% of his fleet got washed away. 1, 2, maybe 3 ships landed. When they landed, they were demoralized. They knew they were going to lose. They had no option. And then they were met with thousands and thousands and thousands of warriors. who were ready for them. The general understood that his men were afraid, that they knew they would lose. And what he understood was that because they were on the edge, he knew that if the boats were still there, they would have fled because they knew they had something to go back to. And he told his men to burn the boats, and they did. They had no fallback. They had no option. They had nothing to run away to. And it actually forced them to only do one thing, and that is to win. And they freaking did. So I had to, that was a pivotal like thing. So Dean Fago, like that, he's going to be, he's boiled into my memory forever. I owe so much to him. A lot of my success is thanks to him closing me the way that he did. So, but that being said, I had this scarcity mindset. I was like, oh man, do I really want to pay? At the time it was like, 7,800 to get into sub 2. And I'm like, it's a lot of money. I actually didn't even have the money. What if like the entire payment was due and I didn't get a deal and I ran out and like, oh my God, like, I don't know what to do, right? They're gonna come after me with like loan sharks or something. And I had to retrain my mindset to understand now that it's a small freaking price to pay. It is a small freaking price to pay. That proximity will actually level you up, not just in your business. The business, guys, business is systems and processes and people, and it is math. For the most part, it is actually math. But to level yourself up, you have to level up your mindset. And the best way to do that is to get into rooms with people who think bigger than you ever could. When you do, you will start thinking like they do. You will start thinking audacious freaking thoughts. Bro, a year ago at this time, I was studying for my finals for my master's. I was probably, this is like what, it's June, right? I was probably taking my finals right now. That was the only thing in my mind. That was my biggest freaking problem, right? Think about that. That was my biggest problem. That's where my head was at. That's my thought process. Now, my thought process is, who's the next billionaire I want to hang out with? Now, my biggest problem is, how do I consistently scale 6 figures a month? I would never have had these thoughts until I hung around with people where this was their default. It is now my default. And I know you understand this because I've seen you do this. You teach me so much, dude. I truly, truly, truly thank you for that. We're always looking for that next room that has bigger thinkers and their default is astronomically higher than yours ever was. One day, we're going to be at a point where our default is, how do we make $1 million a week? Shit, how do we make $1 million like passively a week before we, or overnight? Because we've built such an empire and that's our biggest problem. One day you and I are going to have the problem, I firmly believe this, where our biggest problem is going to be, we have to buy a gigantic private jet to wipe out a tax bill because it's so freaking high.
Bro, it's almost like you can see my vision board.
I haven't, guys. I've been to his place. I actually have not seen this vision board. Now I want to. But guys, all that's to say, yes, whatever the price is, whether it's $1,000, $7,800 for me in sub 2, like looking back at it, anyone who's in sub 2, who's in proximity to Pace Morby, ask yourself, was that price worth it? Looking back on it, the answer is 1,000,000 times over. Hell yes. I would pay that over every single day of the week and twice on Sundays until I die to get that proximity to that human being alone. Right. And 10K, 20K, 30K, just to get into the rooms with people who think and operate in a way that you only wish you could. It is the price of leveling yourself up. Be willing to pay that price, and I swear you will reap the benefits of it.
Bro, well freaking said. And I'm going to be respectful of your time, man, because I want to make sure that we get you out of here, but we're going to be having you back on this podcast. So
I can be here all day with you, bro. Like I'm loving this. I'm loving this. But yes, 100%. If you would like to have me back and the people want to have me back, I can do this all day with you.
Oh, they will want you back, bro. And I'm actually excited, right? Because I'm excited that you've been making decisions and making strides to actually put yourself out there on stages more, that you will actually be going around this beautiful country of ours and speaking and hosting events and being at events. So I'm like, I don't know how much of that you've been letting people know. So like, if that's still hush hush, I'm so sorry for talking about it. It just gets me excited, bro. But I'm excited for people to have the opportunity to now be around you, because here's something I want to say. And this is what I want people to understand. And you're a prime example of this. I know you get this. I've sat and I've thought about, why do we get into these rooms? Like Sam, I've had those questions. I was like, all right, when am I like, I haven't crushed $1 bajillion of deals yet. Why do I get to hang out with these guys? Why does it feel so normal and natural? Why doesn't it feel weird? Like, why are my friends freaking out about this and I'm not? Like, what's going on? And then I realized birds of a feather flock together, right? And although we might be on different parts of the table, we're cut from the same cloth, right? It's the same cloth, right? And some of it might be hanging off the side right now, and some of it might be on top of the table, but it's the same cloth, it's the same makeup. And when that started to click to me, I was like, oh my gosh, yes, would a billionaire not recognize their younger self? Would they not recognize, like, oh yeah, that's what I remember when I was at the beginning of the journey, right? And this is where I realized, oh my gosh, Sam's there, I'm there, some of us are there. And when you go out and you travel into the space, and people, this is why I'm so excited, because people haven't had proximity yet, and there are going to be people that are going to have proximity to you, Sam, right? Because you're making yourself accessible, right? And they're going to start to resonate, and they're going to say, why do I resonate so well with Sam? And you're going to be a part of the reason why they wake up. You're a part of that catalyst. And I'm just like, oh my gosh, like this man is literally on a mission to wake the world up. And I appreciate that immensely, bro. Like that's so, so powerful, because that's the world I dream of. That's why someone like you, like, I'm happy to call a friend. I'm happy to call a brother. I'm happy to have you in my life and to be a part of yours, because you are literally helping make my dream come true. Like my dream selfishly is coming true because of, I have a friend like you. So thank you, bro.
I gotta say this. I have to say this publicly in front of a lot of people. And one day when you and I have taken over the world and built empires, I want people to go back on YouTube and see this video and hear me say that, Marlon, I freaking love you, bro. I truly, truly do. Dude, this is a wild ride. This is a freaking wild ride. And as guys who, I think you and I are both moving a million miles per minute, because I've gotten a glimpse at the things that you're doing and the trajectory that you're on. And oh my God, is it freaking scary. It is scary for me to watch because it's so damn exciting. Bro, I cannot wait. You're building your empire right now. You're laying the bricks on that foundation, and it's going to be strong. And when that foundation's built, when the walls are up, when the flag is up on top of that tower, and you come out on your balcony and you look over the kingdom that you've built, just know that I'm going to be right there. I'm going to be cheering you on. And I'm just grateful. I'm blessed that you have given me your time, your wisdom, your friendship, because seeing how you operate, just an observancy alone, has allowed me to evolve in a massive, massive way. So for everyone watching, this is such an important thing. Find peers who are on the same journey that you're on. I sent Jay, Jay. I sent him an audio message. He sent me an audio message today, checking in on me, make sure I'm on track to do what I'm supposed to be doing. And I sent him an audio message saying that this challenge that I'm doing, which is a relatively, it's not too bad, but I'm sure he'll hit me with 5 more challenges after I'm done. And I told him, this is what I'm doing. I'm picking out my peers who I believe are on the same journey that I am, because I want to help them get up there. If we do it together, 1, our chances of success are way, way higher. 2, we're going to be more fulfilled and have more purpose in doing it. I want to thank you for being my peer, and for everyone watching, go find your peers. Trust me, the world is not going to end with Marlon building his empire and Sam building his. The reality is there's always going to be another wave of people. Reality is the world needs more life changers, more world changers are needed to keep us moving forward. And I believe Marlon Johnson has the ability to affect great change. Now, there's the ripple effect in this world, right? The ripples of goodness. I believe Marlon's one of the very few people who can make those ripples and have them turn into waves. Here's the thing, though. We need more Marlons. We need so many more. Like, the world needs them. So, guys, what Marlon does is scary. Like, it's actually scary to get onto podcasts and to get comfortable being on camera and to go up to a billionaire and have them become your best friend. It is actually scary to do all those things, but that's the cost. It is actually required. That's the price that you have to pay to become who you were meant to be. That uncomfortable feeling that you want to shy away from, on the other side of that, like that uncomfortability, is the next version of you. Don't shy away from it. Like, please don't. The world needs you to be who you're always meant to be. And the greatest rewards are always on the other side of the biggest freaking walls.
Sam, I'm gonna cut that clip right there, and I'm just gonna selfishly replay that for myself. Like every day. That's how I'm gonna wake up every single morning with a message from Sam. Bro, I freaking love you. I literally wrote it down on my notebook right here while you were talking. At one point, I was just like, I love Sam. I love him. Sam, I want to ask you this question, and this is two of my questions that I like to ask people at the end of every episode, and one of which is selfishly how I build out my reading list. I love reading, man. Like books and people have been gateways to just exponential growth. I love books so much actually because I'm able to download a person's entire thought process uninterrupted. I don't have to worry about anyone interrupting. I get to listen to the way they think and see the way that they compute life. So for me, books have been paramount in changing the paradigm. Can you name one, but no more than two books that for you have been paradigm shifts that you picked them up, you read them or listened to them, and you've never quite been the same since?
You know, we talked about the value in being authentic, right? I don't read. It's not that I can't, guys. I know how to read. I'm actually very good at it. It's one of those things where I used to be a massive reader when I was a kid. Loved it. I loved it. Through time and in this endeavor, what I quickly rewired, the process of rewiring my brain. And this is me, guys. This is just Sam Singh. It doesn't have to be everybody, but this is just me. I just never really found the purpose in doing it. And I know there is amazing purpose in doing it, but for me, I'm like, I'm just going to go ahead and do what I got to do and take action steps. And this is just what I did. And a lot of my mindset shifts. I know a lot of people, they read books for, you know, the purposes of having mindset clicks. And a lot of people, they'll either read books or they'll meditate, whatever works for them. For me, it's always actually just been self-awareness, striving for greater clarity in myself through just analyzing where I'm at, what I'm thinking, who I'm hanging around with. That being said, because I do want to give you a book because I actually believe in its purpose in a big way. I know what it's about, and I've actually read the first chapter of it. So I actually do read, ironically. And it's funny because this is a book that I'm super, super excited for, even though I probably am not going to read it in full. It's totally okay. And that is actually Ed Milet's new book, The Power of One More. And it truly freaking is. And here's why. The power of one more was taught to me in college by one of my greatest mentors in life who taught me the power of suffering. There is truly a power in physical suffering. And what he would do is he would work me to the bone to make me suffer. Why? Because as soon as your physical body is drained, as soon as it's toast, you can easier access what's up here. The reality is your mindset, right, is your ticket. It's your absolute ticket to real, long-standing, meaningful growth. But your mind is smart. It has so many safeguards. One of those safeguards is your physical being. The quicker you can break down your physical being, the quicker you can access this juicy stuff right here and get to rewiring. And my coach, love him to death, such an amazing figure. This reminds me, guys, I want to say this. I want to deviate for just a quick second, guys. I just got reminded by a meaningful mentor in my life who was from another chapter of my life. But what he taught me then is now manifesting in a big way now. I am after this. I'm going to go ahead and send him a text message telling him the trajectory that I'm on and that I appreciate what he did for me. Please go find a meaningful mentor in your life because we all have them who did something for you 10 years ago that you just haven't touched bases with them. Reach out to them, tell them thank you, tell them you love them. But he taught me that when my body was toast, and you're an athlete, you get this. When your body's toast and your legs feel like they can't move and they feel like jelly and you feel like you're going to fall over, one more. And you tell yourself you can't. You tell him you can't. I remember this. I used to bleed on court. I used to like wear through my shoes and I would bleed on court. I would throw up. I would be toast. And I tell him, I just can't do it. And then one day he actually told me, I need you to shut your brain off and accept that you can do one more. And then I listened. Then he broke me down. And then he said, what did I say? And I said, okay. And I found out I could do one more. And when I did it again, and I did it again. And then what you quickly find out is that a lot of when you think you can't do anything more, one more rep, one more push up, one more call, one more event, one more whatever the heck it is, just shut this off and accept that you can do it, and you will. The power of one more is, I believe in its message in a big way. I also believe in Ed Milet because he's a someone that inspires me to get on stages. He's one of the reasons for why I'm doing what I'm doing, the mission that I'm on. And I have to say this, guys, Ed's doing some amazing stuff. For you guys that don't know, all the profit that he's getting from the book, he from the pre-order of the book at the very least, he matched and then doubled and is donating it to the families of the Texas elementary school shooting. So there's a book with a purpose. There is a book that actually is built on a principle that has affected my life in great ways. It is the power of one more.
Bro, I freaking love you. Every time you open your mouth, man, like it's just the only thing I want to say is like, I freaking love this guy. And I just want everybody in the world to know, like, I am beyond grateful to be able to share you right now with people who may not already know you, right? Like they need to connect with you. And you're absolutely right. Like, and that's going to be something we're coming back on. We're going to talk about that in depth one day about breaking the body down to get to the mind, because that is an ultimate cheat code. That's a life hack. Like, I don't think there's anybody that doesn't work for. Truly, I believe that works for every single human on this planet that is a healthy, functioning human. So my final question to you, Sam, is this, and it's my favorite question. And I can promise you there will be a book written one day on everybody's answers. So think hard about this one.
Okay.
I want you to imagine tomorrow, Sam, that you wake up, and as you wake up, you find that there's no memories, there's no recollections. You don't remember your childhood. You don't remember watching your mother have to struggle. You don't remember having to raise your siblings. You don't remember your schooling. You don't remember this amazing adventure that you've been going on in entrepreneurship, the friendships you made, the relationships, the lessons, the wisdom, the sports, nothing, blank. And as you start to come to consciousness and you begin to open your eyes, you're not scared, right? You're not worried. You're all right. You begin to have a thought. And as this thought comes to you, you find that there is no resistance. You're not fighting it, right? You just accept it as truth, and nobody can ever make you question it. And this thought now begins the foundation of basically everything else to come. What would you ideally want this first thought to be?
I love this question. I do. And it's actually the question, it's the thought. I'm going to say this, I'm going to take an executive decision on this. I'm going to turn that thought not into a statement, but into a question, because I think a question is sometimes even more powerful than any statement could be. And it's the question that I actually intentionally, you guys can't see it because this whole thing is locked down. I have it written on my wall. And that question, this thought would be that question. I know it would be, because put all the memories aside, put all the experiences aside. I know for whatever arbitrary, spiritual, godly, universal reason, I know that that one thought that would manifest is the one thought that continues to drive me to this day. And that thought is a question. And that question is, who are you meant to be? And what that's going to do, I know me. And I know me, even if you erase the hard drive and you delete all the saved files, I know me and I know how I'm going to operate. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to search for that answer. I'm going to search for one thing and one thing alone, and that's clarity. That clarity is going to take me, it's going to give me all the answers I'm looking for. It's going to, that thought is always going to be, who are you meant to be? Yeah.
Man, I had to take that in for a second. That is, man, I don't want to call it my favorite, bro, because like I don't want to do that to like anyone else that comes on after or anyone who's come before. So I'm just gonna say like it's up there, man. It's like literally on the top three. It's on the top one, bro. It's on the top one. You know, like that is such a powerful, powerful answer right there. Sam, Thank you. Thank you for being here today. Thank you for being here as your most authentic self, for sharing your story, sharing your origin story, sharing your wisdom, sharing the things that matter to you most, and really sharing the most important thing that you have to give on this earth, on this life, is your time. This is something that you've given me today, and you've given my audience that we could never pay you for. We can never pay you enough for. We can never give it back to you. Sam, I want to know, for people that are just absolutely in love with you the same way that I freaking love you, how can they get a hold of you? How can they get in contact with you? How should they follow you? Like, I want them to connect with you, and like, I want them to be plugged in directly to the source. Like, where should they go?
Yeah, absolutely, guys. 100%. This is good because I'm learning this from you, right? It's being active on social media. And one, always, you guys can hit me up on Instagram, and that's at Arch Sam Singh. Look, I totally dropped the ball. You've got your Instagram username right there, and I didn't do that. I just put Sam Singh. God dang it, I need to get better at this. Guys, you guys can hit me up on Instagram, shoot me a DM, say hi. Please introduce yourself and let me know. And when I say that, I don't mean introduce yourself and tell me your name. I mean introduce yourself and tell me what makes you tick, because I love that. I love that. I want to know your why. You guys can meaningfully plug in with me there. Hit me up on Facebook. And then, guys, I mean, go live every single week with an amazing man named Logan Manzanettis in a podcast called The Origin Story, where we do basically this exact same thing with other guests. Marlon, it would be my greatest honor if we could have you on and basically just turn the tables around a little bit and have me ask the questions. But on top of that, I'm actually doing something pretty freaking dope. And that is because of a mutual friend of ours. Jay has challenged me to go live on Instagram every single freaking day for the next, I still have 25 days, like 24, 25 days left. So when I'm there, I'm on it right now, guys, I know a lot of you guys are watching on Instagram right now. Come say hi, come share some screen time with me, come share some quality time with me, get to know me. And I want to get to know you. But Marlon, I have to say this before we stop, because you and I, we're always going to talk offline, but I have to say this publicly. It is an absolute freaking honor to be by your side. It truly is. This man that I want to be, right? The one that I'm just so desperate for the world to meet. I think that one of the only ways I can become him is to surround myself with men who are better than I am. And you are one of those men. So truly, 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 thank you for allowing me to be within your proximity.
Sam, you are always welcome in my life. Always. Ladies and gentlemen, I need you to go and give Sam some love. Go and follow him. If you got any value at all from this episode, what you can do as payment, as if you want to give me something, you can do that by simply sharing this with somebody else who you feel it can resonate with, who you feel needs to hear this message, because it was from the heart. Like, I felt this, like, this episode was absolutely from such a deeper space. This was not just an intellectual conversation. This was a very emotional, spiritual conversation. So share this with a friend and tag Sam, tag myself. Let us know what you think, right? Let him know that what he did here today made a difference. Sam, brother, I love you. I'm looking forward to having you back on the show. And I absolutely look forward to our growth.
Love it. Love you, brother. Let's do it again.